I'm on target. As usual, as soon as we start this program, the medium is provided for you. You have the opportunity and you could direct what we speak about. You could interrupt us at any time. We take your calls and you can make your contribution. We are 91.9 and 91.5 Real FM. We are 94.9 We Noise FM in Brooklyn, New York. And then you can put us on YouTube and Facebook. You can share our program, like our program, and subscribe to Real FM. We just coming from the Easter weekend. A very important, Easter is a very important period in Christendom. In fact, almost all the important stories and history and happenings took place within 1 week. Jesus Christ was crucified, he made a triumphant entry into Jerusalem on Palm Sunday. He had the Last Supper. He was crucified in the most brutal and horrendous manner. He died, he was buried, and he was risen. And some Christians would say, we are an Easter people, and hallelujah is our song. And a lot of emphasis on some of the old and traditional Christian would take significant guidance from that week. From Palm Sunday to Easter Sunday. That perhaps is the most important and significant period in some of the Christians like Catholics and Anglican and some of the old traditional Christians. So it's an important period. It's also a period when people from the Lenten period were able to look within themselves, not at other people, to take a deep look into your own self and determine the direction you go. Not only individuals and Christians, but perhaps all organizations and political organizations should take a page from that week. Because Christianity has such a profound effect on all our lives in Grenada and in the Caribbean. We principally a Christian community. Maybe a small percentage of Muslims and even a smaller percentage of other religions. The political organization in Grenada should look into themselves. They constantly have to do post-mortem. We have a new organization likely to launch or to start anytime. They've been making some rumbling on the ground. So far, they only describe themselves as a movement. And I believe we should start asking questions. Now is the time to ask questions. To find out the direction they are going. What is the ideological perspective? You see, in Grenada is not like other Caribbean countries. Some historians consider us as the island of conflict. Some political pundits refer to us as milk on fire. As soon as you turn back, you boil up and fall. Some say we are a false calm. So I think the political pundits, the apologists, should always prepare to ask questions. And that new movement, which seems to be led by Peter David, We need to ask questions of that new movement now. Now before it launches. Now before it forms. They seem to be on the ground trying to get it off the ground. And all we know is a movement. A movement for what? What direction will it go? I will tell you why it is important to ask this question. The economy of Grenada and a number of other countries is in trouble. When you watch down the road 10 years, the economy of Grenada and a number of other countries is in trouble. Yes, scholar, welcome.
That Pierre movement is not the end. It's not the end of. Mr. Pierre, good afternoon, Mr. Pierre.
Yes, good afternoon.
Yes, the movement is not the end of anything, but is the beginning of everything. This is the movement.
So we want to know about it.
So we want to know about it. We want to know what is not the end of anything, but is the beginning of everything. So we want to know about it.
Yeah, I think it is important for us to ask questions. We have given them a long time enough to start to explain to the public what this movement is about. And one of the reasons I say we need to know, because if you have a political movement in Grenada, Grenadians must know what direction you are taking. The economy in Grenada as a country, economy is in trouble. A number of Caribbean countries' economy is in trouble. And in the next 10 years, it could be worse. Our economy in Grenada, over 20% of our GDP, and I'm being very conservative, over 20% of our GDP depends on one institution, St. George's University. Over 20% of the GDP. Remittance from foreign countries is a significant contributor to the economy. A significant contributor. During COVID-19, when remittance was down in most Caribbean countries, yes, scholar, welcome.
Good day, sir.
Yes, my brother.
Yeah, first of all, before we go to the meat of the thing today, which is going to be very interesting, I like to say, express my condolence to all Catholics, home and abroad, on the passing of a very important gentleman, Pope Francis. And I do hope that everyone had a died in a very important weekend. So I would like to say that first of all. Mr. Pierre, we had a very embarrassing situation last Sunday gone, which was Easter Sunday. We always heard about the Bob report. There was a lot of people listening to that report. And the government embarrassed themselves once again, as they are accustomed to. Michael Baptist has been a former agriculture minister since 1997 until 2002. So he have a wide range of experience in the agricultural department. He knows he come from the breadbasket. We used to call St. Andrews the breadbasket of agriculture. This is why Michael was selected by our former Prime Minister, Sir Dr. Kit Mitchell, to be he invited him because he said, Michael, you came from the breadbasket, St. Andrews. And imagine, he was scheduled to have a debate with the present Minister of Agriculture on Sunday program. Imagine the Minister of Agriculture declined I want Grenadians to take the unprepared, pass it on to the PS. The PS also declined. They pass it on to our extension officer. Michael said he will not debate with a civil servant. He wants the real man to come and answer about marketing board and all the other things, because they say they have a new name for marketing board. New plan, they want to merge differently. Now that you called upon. So I am saying to Grenadians, we have a shaky government. They cannot answer questions. They haven't got information. They're running for debate. What kind of government have leading this country? Grenadians, take note. We need competent people. We need people that could answer questions to run this country. And I will be advocating until the flag dust what we need for this country. You don't have no friendship in that. You don't about who you like in that. It's who could do the work. I rest my case for somebody else. Thank you.
I'm not surprised that the NDC is becoming skeptical of their own protected environment. You see, the NDC have a policy of information based on need to know. But it's always difficult. When you come from when you take the background of the government before the NDC, the NNP, that liberalized the telecommunication system and was hungry to interact with the press. They had a session, a press conference after every cabinet meeting weekly. The Prime Minister then decided to meet every quarter. And other ministers like Mr. Steele, Miss Modeste, Emmeline Pierre, and others was practically on the radio daily answering questions. Whenever Gregory Bowen came, well, he was hungry for questions. The NDC promised to make information legal. I don't think that is the right terminology. However, once they reach in power, they deceive the media. The very said media they lied to, they deceived them. And they said information is based upon need to know. So now they're on the run. I told you this group been telling more lies than all other political groups put together since 1967. This group is like poor people terrorists, vultures, master deceivers, and squandering the public funds. The level of immaturity make them believe that even the press they thought they had in the bag cannot survive because their own professionalism is at stake. The doctor of journalism, Calistra, the cyclist, the very profession is at stake and could be neutralized if they continue to protect this bunch of deceivers. So I'm not surprised. Not surprised at all. But and this is why it's so critical and so important for us to ask questions to this new movement. And as I say, why ask questions to them? Because the economy of Grenada is heavily dependent on St. George's University and the multiplying effect. And that is over 20% of the GDP. Remittance from our people in the diaspora, tourism, and the selling of passport. That should have all economists worried that you have an economy that depends on St. George's University. More than 20% of the GDP. Remittance. That is when people from the diaspora send back money to whom? Send back money to Grenada. Whether his parents sending back to their children, husband to the wife, friends, that is significant. Because that's foreign exchange. Tourism, and the biggest contributor to the tourist market in Grenada is American tourists. And selling of passport. There are a number of people in Grenada that have a love-hate relationship with America. Every chance they get, they run down America. They promote Russia, China, the Marxists, Leninists, the communists, the atheists. So, a political party in Grenada, we need to know what direction they are going. In addition to that, there are some people who could never sell their politics. They always hide. Because the people would not buy what they're selling. So they have to take a ride on the back of a cars. They have to disfigure themselves like snake in the grass. As if they're feeling in third sleep. To take a ride on the back of an issue. We have this new movement that is being formed in Grenada, and very soon, I believe, or maybe within the year, would show themselves. We need to ask question now. Peter David seems to be the undisputed leader of the new movement. But he has not been clear. He has been extremely cagey in giving Grenadian a direction where this new movement is going. And we need to ask question. Is it a movement of the left? Yes, caller, welcome.
Good afternoon, Mr. Pierre.
Yes, my sister.
And how was your weekend?
Good weekend.
Amen. Good, thank you. Well, when Bishop started, what he started, not a movement too?
Yes.
Okay. Well, that is what we Grenadians should open our ears and our eyes and use our common sense to know where this movement will end. If we Grenadians give them this movement a chance, because everything is under, because I remember as an aged person, they always singing, the revolution have to go on. And this movement, what decide to form there, we have to be careful. So pass all of them. And the next thing again, who is the really Prime Minister of Grenada? There is a question I ask over and over. And
the Prime Minister is no other person than Deacon Mitchell.
Well, yes, but he's not remaining in Grenada. All what you're hearing about Andy.
The Prime Minister of Grenada is a hostess. So you have to have somebody function for him. He's a fake. He's a hostess. He's one of the worst political embarrassment in the Caribbean.
To me, as though it's Andy and Anne-Marie what run in Grenada affairs.
Well, definitely.
Because they share all announcements from Andy and Andy and Andy.
Yes, well, he have to get somebody else to function for him, but he is the leader.
Because I find it strange. So whilst one more is going on there the movement. He might seeking to get people to help the movement to perhaps.
Well, you can't surprise because you don't know what he's about. You don't know who's the third party that is leading
that is
the NDC.
So we have to be careful. We have to have our head on in Grenada here. So this is what I find funny. I really find it hard because you don't know when he here, when he not here, when he going, when he coming, what he going for, what he coming with, nothing at all. I don't know. Anyway, Mr. Pierre, have a blessed day.
Yes,
and let we keep ourselves functioning properly.
You see, based upon our history, we cannot claim that we don't know. No. We have to ask and find out. So if Peter David is leading a new movement, Peter must give us direction. Tell us, where are you having a Marxist-Leninist group? What group you leading? Is it another left group? Why is it you are not coming out clear and give some broad guidelines? A movement or what? What movement? You see, Peter, based upon our history, Maurice Bishop said, the environment is not conducive for a revolution. So we go have to make the environment. He said we go, Gary start with fire, so we starting with fire too. So he started to burn down places in Grenada and create the situation, then cry out police brutality. Now, what your movement is all about? Is it a movement because he was personally affected? You must tell Grenadians it's only fair. Based upon the fragile nature of our economy, we need to know. Is it a rise of the left in Grenada? Would we have a challenge to freedom of the press again? You must tell us that. We voted Dick into power. We bought a cat in a bag. And we end up with individuals who believe information should not be provided to the people readily. They seems to contaminate all the institutions in our country. They flaunt the law with impunity and using hostile tactics to intimidate radio personalities. Now that perhaps serves as a catalyst for the left wing in our country to rise. Yes, caller, welcome. We lost that caller. That seems to serve as a catalyst for the left wing in our country to rise. We have to be concerned. Caller, welcome.
Mr. Pierre, good afternoon.
Yes.
You're arguing about the movement. You should know what is the movement. The movement is the remnants of the revolution. So you don't have a problem with that. Simple like that. Take care.
We must ask questions. You see, Grenadians can't say you don't know. During the 4.5 years of the coup d'etat, when we experimented, over 3,000 people, Maurice Bishop signed the order for over 3,000 Grenadians to go in jail. 3,000 to 4,000 flee the country. People were castrated. People were executed. The Rastafarians was hung down, taken from the mountains and brought in the cow pen. They were treated extremely badly. There was no freedom of the press. In fact, Maurice Bishop said public, if you say they say, he locking up the heavy manners was the order of the day. This thing ended in the worst crimes in Grenada after slavery and colonialism. We cannot say we don't know. We cannot say we don't remember. And if you don't remember, I'm reminding you. And you know when I speak, I dare. And I challenge the others to tell me what is it that I'm saying that is not the truth. Peter David has been in politics long enough. If Peter David wants to start a new movement, he must provide the guidelines. What this new movement about? Do you want to sneak in another hardline group in the country? There is some questions that I want to ask. It's about 10 of them. But today I will only ask one. And I'm directing my question. Yes, caller, welcome.
Hi, Mr. Pierre, good day.
Yes, sister, good day.
Yes. Mr. Pierre, in 1984, Parliament democracy came back in Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit-Martinique. Yes, where every 5 years, we had elections. So I listen to some people and say, NNP, they for how many years? But every 5 years, administration comes in, whether it's NNP or whether it's NDC. Yeah? Now, in 1990, NDC came in. Yes? And then in 2008, NDC came in. They won 11 seats. NNP got 4. And then in 2013, NNP came back. So not to say NDC only comes in 2022, but you know the historical period in these times. So to say the NNP was all years, no, that's not true. 1990 NDC was there, 2008 NDC was there. You know, as a matter of fact, they got 11 seats, while NNP got 4. And then in 2013, NNP gets 15. So when people speaking about the performances of parties, you know, and talking about the amount of work that the NNP done, I think there is some hostility with some people, you know, trying to attack those NNP. I heard them. And the thing I ask people to go back to the historical period and analyze the situation is, you know, and what good things, great things done by any of those administrations. You know, people have a right to speak. And if people are saying now that things now since 2022, you see the situation with the suffering of the poor people. When I talk about suffering, some people does attack me, but we listen and you see, and people jobless and many other things. So the point is that people have a right to speak out, to state their feelings and so on, because this rate, this thing going, is a lot of starvation on the ground. Thank you, Mr. Pierre. Have a good day.
Yes, scholar. And that was poor. This at the NDC could have only continued this mathematical calculation because the NNP information network wasn't responding. I have no sympathy for NNP for that. When NDC talk about 23 years in power, you didn't understand. You didn't respond to tell them that every time they come in power, the economy is in free fall. The worst government for agriculture have always been NDC. Every time they come in power, agriculture in shambles. During their period, they brought in the millibug. They brought in the millibug in their period. Michael Battis was there when they were spending over 100,000 pounds of sauce-up. Had to be sacrificed to convince the United States of America that Grenada could sell fresh sauce-up to the U.S. market. But UNNP didn't do a good job defending yourself. But I'm going back to Peter David and your movement. Peter David, the time has come for you to face the media and ask questions and answer questions. I want you to tell Grenadians about the Angola option. When you finish explain it, a school child in primary school should understand. Peter David, if you want to lead Grenada, no more hiding, no more ducking, no more snake in the grass, no more feeling in third sleep. We let Deacon sneak in the political arena, and Deacon will be a disaster. He flung the law with impunity. I don't know what price he paid for a third party directing of foreign affairs. He's sneaking in Nigeria and had to be chastised by the governor of Lagos State. He deceived the Grenadian public. He said it was transformation. And then he said it was restorative justice. And he was practicing vengeance, retributive justice. He is well qualified to be the master deceiver in this country. And I believe that Deacon is an agricultural lunatic. I've advised him not to speak about agriculture without expert written advice. Why do I say that? Why do I say that? He advised to borrow Greenleg truck to pick mango. Which organization going to lend you or rent you a truck costing $200,000-$300,000 to go and pick mango after 4? Well, in the night. Which organization that's going to lend you? What is it? What economics they have in that? He promised to get a net to collect seaweed in the sea, even if it is highly possible. What is the economic reality of it? Deacon want to build a new hospital and spend 500 million on it. But he do not want to have doctors in St. Patrick's and St. John. In fact, when NDC come into power, they cut short the amount of time that the medical facilities in St. Patrick's is operating. And then he want to build a new prison. So obviously, this individual is a political neophyte. And he do not have the time to sit down in the country and understand what is going on. He's a air hostess. This gentleman had the opportunity to bring a strong businessman in Grenada instead of selling him as a businessman, and let the individual have a meeting with the Chamber of Commerce, the business fraternity, the commodity boards, even students of economics and business in school. He is celebrating him as a sugar daddy and gallivanting around the country. That is an embarrassment. The same individual that wanted to buy plane and only later found out that plane have to have insurance and license. his level of incompetence is practically earth-shattering. So bear all that in mind. Peter David, you must complain. Start by explaining to Grenadians the Angola option. We believe, or based upon what we're hearing, that was the most deciding factor that realized the carnage on the foot. Where Maurice Bishop, Jacqueline Kreff, Norris Bain, and many others was brutally murdered. Yes, scholar, welcome.
Mr. Pierre?
Yes, my brother.
Pleasant afternoon to you, sir, and a pleasant afternoon to your listening audience. As usual, I understand where you're coming from when it comes to the revolution. But what I would like to hear you talk about, too, also, why Dr. Mitchell, as the leader of the NNP and government of Grenada, what was the reasoning and rationale for dumping the relationship with a democratic country, a democratically elected government? Why did they dump Taiwan for a communist country? Because you're talking a lot about the revolution, and the revolution, generally speaking, you know, the philosophy is in line with the Communist Party of China. Why did he dump a democratic country and a democratic government for a communist country and a communist government? That is one. Number two, Mr. Pierre, listen to this. I know your Pope died a couple of days ago. But I cannot say to you, neither to Catholics, I cannot say accept my sympathy. I cannot be a hypocrite. Because when you say accept my sympathy, it means that you are sorry for the loss of the individual or the people involved. You're sorry for the loss. And Mr. Pierre, I'm not sorry for the loss. And at the same time, I am not celebrating the loss. My good friend, brother, comrade Jude Adams, that died, that we laid to rest a couple of weeks ago from Primrose, he means more to me than the Pope. And the last point I want to make here, sir, is this. Don't worry too much about the movement, because the movement don't have to win the election to claim victory. I hope you all don't learn the lesson after it has been taught. Have a pleasant day, sir.
Maybe I'll deal with your 3 questions another time. I wouldn't pass them on. The question of the Pope, the question of China and Taiwan and Grenada relationship, and I'll deal with that 3 questions another time. But I think it is of paramount importance that if a new party is being started in Grenada by a stalwart politician, that you don't sneak it on us. You let Grenadians know what is the philosophy, what is the cause, what is the reason. Is it because you are personally disappointed? No, you see, after I see Deaton, I am extremely concerned about vengeance and where you're going to bring this country. Is Peter David party more about vengeance? Is it an opportunity to get even with people who believe did him wrong? The troops that Peter David have now, are they on a vengeance match? Is it about getting even with NNP who do them wrong or NDC who did them wrong? We need to know. Look at the level of victimization practice by Dick Mitchell and his group. Is Grenadian want to go down that route? No one must wish death on anybody. even your enemies. The action taken by Deacon Mitchell must be concerned to all Grenadians. And some people could say they didn't know because Deacon and his group sold themselves as never been in politics before. We knew. So people believe that because they knew, they have no axe to grind. And it's not a bitter group. No injustice had been done to them. So they deceive Grenadians. They lie to the elderly, the physically challenged, disadvantaged children. They lie to them. They reference the World Bank. When they was lying to the elderly, they lied to the Imani, the workers on contract, the workers we call supernumeraries, or some trade union call them permanent, temporary, permanent. This, they lie to them. They even lie on housing. They say they're going to build 500 houses, Grenadian style, per parish, per annum. And they lie on that. They lie on the 100-house unit that was supposed to be given to the less fortunate. They consider the government as a criminal act for not giving out the houses. And when they come in power, they take back the keys from the people that was given, that had the keys. They take it back, rescind, take back from them. And what we are hearing, that these houses is for people in the diaspora. The houses that they have in St. Patrick's, they decide to sell the houses for people. $75,000, I understand. One woman spoke to me, tears in her eyes. She yellow like a saffron. She worked with the Ministry of Health all her life. She was 59 when they won election. They know she can get loan from the bank, but they still send these people to the bank to put them in shame and disgrace. We seem to have a lot of Grenadians that rejoicing. They say, let them starve. Let them pound stone in the river. This is what they're saying to the less fortunate, You have a prime minister that consider Grenadians as classless. Yes, scholar, welcome.
Sir, good evening.
Yes, my brother.
Good afternoon. As a Catholic, I'd like to tell you how you spend your Easter.
Good, man. The Easter was great. Easter is the most significant period in Christendom. So it's a very important point for us.
And then Catholics lose the Pope.
The Pope, they didn't lose the Pope. The Pope move on. Go to the Father's house. The Pope was able to go and spend 10 minutes on Easter Sunday and spoke at 84. And he died 7:35 Monday morning.
In a wheelchair, so they bring him dead. They bring him dead to greet the people there who couldn't raise him, and I watched it, they couldn't raise him, and bring him dead.
You have to understand, maybe you have to go back to the Catholic Church and the disciple John. John was an old man, and they used to bring John. So the Catholics are accustomed. The Catholics have great respect for the elderly and life and dignity. So they feel proud to walk around with the elderly. So the Pope was 84, but they had no problem in bringing him in a wheelchair. In the same way the disciple John was brought around. That's why you don't see much firebrand Catholic priests.
Yeah, and you have about 4 billion. You have 4 billion supporters, like you.
Well, not 4 billion, 1.4 billion.
Yeah, let's talk in the Pope now and let them mash up. We can the Pope frontiers. We cannot hear. When I listen, you talk about the job in the cult. I want to study that. The man top in the cult is the But what you're going to take it? Thank you. I'll listen to it.
Yes, scholar. So I think it is very important for Peter David. And Peter, I'm asking you this question because I'm concerned. I've been following you a lot of years. A lot of people like you. You're a likable person. But you seem to always tread very cautiously. That you don't want to get involved in any controversial issue. That is my concern. When I find a leader that's afraid to make mistake, I will start to watch him with a microscope. And over the years, I've been following you. You are a very likable person. The communists like you. The Marxists, Leninists like you. The atheists like you. The people who don't know if they want a Material Butu or a Sisi or Flato, they like you. NDC like you a lot. And NNP like you too. But you seem to be extra cautious. Always walking a thin line. Don't want to make mistake. Ducking every time a controversial issue comes about. That is my fear. What is your agenda? What is your intention? What is your program? So I want to start today. I want you to tell Grenadians about the Angola option. Don't tell them you don't know. You know. Most of the Kodites and the Bishopites always avoid that question. You start the ball rolling. When you speak, a primary school child must answer. Yes, scholar, welcome.
Yeah, Mr. Pierre, I just want to find out from you as a Catholic about that Saint Francis of Assisi. And every time, I heard, well, the Pope Francis, it is said that he believes in the Pope. So I want you to just tell me about, if you know, about that Saint Assisi, Francis Assisi. Thank you.
Yes, well, I think the Jesuit order was started something, I think, in 1534 by Ignatius of Loyola and another one. Okay, name slip me. And they were the greatest teachers and missionaries in the church. And as a result of that, they accused them a lot for interfering in politics. And they decide to live frugal lives and very humble. So it's the first time you had a Jesuit being a pope. And when they first started calling them Jesuits, it was almost a method of reproaching them in the church. Because they would say, Jesus, Jesus. They like to call on Jesus. And like in the church, like some people might say, well, you're playing more holy than thou. So the name come almost as a method of reproach, the Jesuits. And they was involved in teaching and preaching. And they live very frugal lives. Very humble people. And that is where it really comes from. So sometimes this order remind you, get down on your high horse. Money is not the issue. Your mission is to teach and preach. And one of the best ways to practice humility is to live how the poor of the poor live. Maybe another example I could give is the Mother Teresa order, where these nuns believe that you should die with dignity. And they work with the poor of the poor and the destitute. And if you see what they eat, if you notice you don't have a fat nun in them, they might feed you well. But if you see what they eat, you will shudder. So you see, the Catholic Church has been there for 2,000 years. If you go to the church in Grenville or any one of the main churches, you would see all the Pope that was there for 2,000 years. John was the only disciple that was not martyred. They threw hot oil on him. But all the other disciples was martyred. And he lived to reach a very old age. And he used to still go out preaching. They had to bring him. I don't know if they had wheelchair then, but they used to have to bring him. And he used to, with his head, he hardly could raise his head, but still preaching about love and humility and love one another. And that is perhaps why you don't see much firebrand pope, a priest. And I believe, I heard also, that is why you see Pope wearing a little hat on the head, because he had to cover John's head. He lived for old age, so his influence of the church was well ingrained. And this Jesuit, the last Pope Francis, take his name from Francis of Assisi, almost a shake-up in the church, because sometimes you could get so comfortable in the church of God, you could get arrogant and start to live luxurious lives. But we in Grenada mustn't walk away from the politics. And we must be concerned when a political group starting, we must know what is starting among us. We mustn't have snake in the grass. We mustn't have a political group that feeling in third sleep, waiting for people to make mistake. We see how easy it was to buy a political party, to make a fete for the elderly. And every time you hear Dick's name, it seems he's so associated with paying money for good relationship. Yes, caller, welcome.
Mr. Pierre, good afternoon.
Yes, my brother.
Yes. I don't think what is happening with Peter David, I don't think it is a new political party. I think it is a resurrection of the New Jewel movement. When one look at the persons involved, the tricks that were used, the strategy on the Grenadian people during the revolution, when one listens to these guys and them, the type of things that they are saying, it is the same old revolutionary bandits. They are doing, they are resurrecting the New Jewel movement. In the meantime, they are saying movement. I don't think that they really want to say New Jewel. They are looking for some name to hide, because they are trying to hide. But what happened is that when you listen to them, even the gentleman who called you a while ago and asked you, I think, about 3 questions. Sometime ago, I heard that man praising Adolf Hitler, right? He made a statement that pertaining to the Jews, that Hitler had some, what was it, some foresight or whatever. But he was specifically referring to the fact that Hitler was trying to wipe out the Jews. And these people are so ignorant that they're not even aware of the fact that it was not only the Jews that Hitler was trying to destroy, but Hitler also hated the communists, right? So while he's giggling about what Hitler did to the Jews, little do we know that if Hitler had succeeded, he would have wiped out the communists too. And what these guys are doing, they're hiding. It is the same old bunch of foxes that are trying to disguise and fool the Grenadian people. Have a good day, sir.
Hitler also said the black man is the worst race, so you keep him a slave.
Yes.
So Hitler intend to enslave the black man.
Black people, yeah.
Yeah. You see, sometimes we use history for our own convenience. We like that. But sometimes the truth, we have to know the truth. I think it is of paramount importance. The time has come, Peter David. You have been in 2 political parties, 3 political parties. You have walked the road, the political road, very quietly and cautiously. You seem always afraid to make mistake. You were nominated to contest the poll. Maybe you believe that the environment was not conducive, and you now want to start a movement. Peter David, start by telling us some truth and try to be sincere speak about the Angola option. The PRA minute said it was principle. Principle is principle. It was not that. It was the Angola option. Why Maurice Bishop evoked the Angola option, and why the other fraction feared the Angola option so much. Peter David, you are the teacher today. Explain to Grenadians once and for all about the Angola option. Don't say you don't know. You know. You know. When you finish explaining, a primary school child should answer. And I always say, speak about primary school children, because some of the heavyweights of the revolution then went to the Holy Comforter, and they met a primary school child there about 8 or 9 years. And when he started to ask them questions, they were baffled. So they said, this little child don't know all that. So they wanted to lock up his brothers and sisters. So I'm appealing to you, Peter David. You in the shade too much. I'm giving you a jump start. Come out in the light and the media. Start by explaining to us the Angola option. And why is it the fractions feared the Angola option so much? Why Maurice Bishop evoked the Angola option? Fix that part of history. I would have leave it lie, Peter, but Dickon Mitchell opened the Pandora box. When he evoked Maurice Bishop's spirit and he dabbled it in the occult, and so much Grenadians remain silent, and he contaminates institution, and he is meticulously attacking those who dare speak, including financial strangulation, I can rest no more. So now, Peter David, the ball is in your court. Start with the Angola option and ask the question. I hope that I arouse the curiosity of the cyclist, the doctor of journalism, the photogenic one. Because if you fail to ask question, your significance will be diluted. You will become obsolete. I think we cannot claim that we don't know. We can't close our eyes. The issues are facing us. The economy of this country is in trouble. We're not doing anything to grow the economy. We depend on St. George's University. We depend on remittance and tourism. All of them have a significant impact on the attitude of the government in America. And we depend on the sale of passport from Europe and the government in America. And this is after the Easter. All of us supposed to re-energize and take a deep look at ourselves. And we're back with you again tomorrow between 12 and 1 for another opportunity for truth to come in tongue. And I dare you,